All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here live at the Ropeadope Room in East Philadelphia. I'm here in my sanctuary with all of the wonderful albums that we've released over the years around me. I've got to make room for some more, and we've got a few hours of very interesting programming for you here on Bandcamp Day. And we have some guests coming in. Some artists are going to come in and talk about their projects and some issues and the business and all kinds of things. My co-host, Mr. Fabian Brown. Fabian, how are you?
Doing great, Lou. Thanks for having me again.
I'm having a little technical issue here right now, so bear with me one second. Mr. Brown, are you there?
Check 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Check 1, 2. It's almost as if we're in the same room. I love it.
Almost.
All right. How are we looking over there? Are we good? Great. Trial and error. We love it. So the first thing we're going to do today, Mr. David Whitman has been proactive, active throughout his time here at Ropeadope with the Ropeadope community. And also, I get the sense that despite having a family and all the work that goes with that, that he is just constantly engaging in our world and in music in so many ways. And he's brought something to our attention that is hitting the news feeds, and he's composed a piece around an extremely important issue. Welcome, David Whitman from San Diego. How are you?
Doing great, Louis. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here today.
So, Fair Wayne is what we have queued up on the schedule here to start off, and I'd like you to enlighten us and the audience on what this is all about.
So Fair Wayne is a multiple percussion drum set solo for drum set, bass drum, gong, chimes, and hedge clippers. It's a serious work, and it's, I hope that through academia and people who love music, I can spread the truth, I think, behind this work. I was toying with this setup a couple days ago, and I happened to be reading the Washington Post article about Fair Wayne Bryant, who, during the last week of July here, he was denied his request to have his review of his life sentence heard for stealing hedge clippers. Now, I had to take my hedge clippers back home, and this came up short notice today, but the piece concludes with the performer holding the hedge clippers up to the audience. He was convicted under a repeat offender law that's really a residual hangover from the post-Reconstruction era pig laws and the Jim Crow era legislation. And his priors were just, for the most part, petty theft. And in, I think, 1979, he was sentenced to 10 years of hard labor for armed robbery, but denying all the way, and hedge clippers as well. And I mean, who steals hedge clippers anyway? But, a lifetime for hedge clippers. And so feeling empowered in today's modern era of technology and music making and the situation that we're all in. And then I don't know, something else too. Lots of things just fell into place. And I just felt compelled to do this. And just like right away, I could just see the whole thing. And so I called my dear friend Ryan Morris, who does audio engineering on his own, and my dear friend Dan and Maya, who I taught with. Both of them were at my small wedding of 10 to 15 people. And they came over, and I said, hey, I got this thing. And, we did a few takes, and I just honed in a little bit each time. And I'm doing the engraving right now. But it's in part inspired by not only Fair Wayne and his current predicament, because there's things that we can do. There's a change.org petition you can sign. You can lobby your legislature. You can put pressure on your governor. He can be commuted. His sentence can be commuted. He served 26 years already, I think, or 23. at the cost of $518,000, in fact, and to the taxpayer of Louisiana. And but it's not only inspired by that, but also at the Ropeadope family hang. I was hearing Gordon Campbell and Sean Martin talk about their experiences, and I remember one person too. I don't know if it was Anu, someone talking about just hanging out with the band, and then the police roll up and they look at you in that way, and I can't even hardly imagine because I never had to experience that. It was always a safe place for me. Police were
Mhm.
never friendly per se, but I never had that kind of fear, and I feel like I can empathize and sympathize. I hope, because if we can't, then like there's nothing that anybody can do. If we can't do that. So
Mm.
I don't know. I was feeling it pretty strongly, and I don't think it was really me so much. So um, thinking about that, what does that feel like at that moment? And so the first notes of the piece, are really inspired by that. And then what did Fair Wayne think, when the police detained him and and said that they were detaining him for edge clippers that he claims to this day were his wife's that were in his car. Um, and then, at the end of the piece, what did he think that day when the judge, dropped the final gavel? Life sentence, which he didn't have to give. The common misconception that white kids like me had from the North was that, like, oh yeah, that's the law. You got to follow the law, but it's not the law. They don't
Mm.
have to. They don't have to execute that option. Um, but no, life sentence. And then today, sorry, last week of July here, right now, right when this big bomb goes off, and in the midst of post BLM, impact and ground zero, six white Supreme Court justices deny the request against the strong, dissent of the Chief Justice, who's the lone person of color and the only Democrat. Not to make it political, because it's not political. This is not a political thing, and I don't know anything about politics or law. My brother's the city lawyer for Escondido, and I vetted this with him. I just wanted to make sure I didn't say anything stupid, but it's the Chief Justice. It looks like, if you agree with him, you're probably in the right camp, he said. Well, it
Mm.
seems pretty plain to me. So when you hear the last note of the piece, you'll understand all that. And my goal here really is to, I feel like the story needs to be heard, but if it's audiences from now till the end, seeing the hedge clippers, if they can feel, the empathy that I think that I feel,
Mm.
then, they're going to tell people, and these things can change. I mean, they can change, easily, and maybe we can elevate our social consciousness a little bit. And people like me can stop, being quiet and doing nothing about it.
Mm.
Start singing the song and walking the walk.
Well, I think just the process that is very evident that you're going through, not just of creating music, uh, you're feeling the pain of an African American, and therefore all being aware of the injustice. And in the meetings that we have had so far, that's an excellent starting point and a transformative point.
Got to start
Uh,
somewhere.
and thank you for going live and putting yourself out on the line and expressing that emotion.
And I just want to
Um,
share for the people at
go on.
home. I haven't slept a lot in the last few days. We're finishing this project. There's a lot that goes into all of that, as I'm sure you can imagine. And when you hear it, I think you'll understand. So,
Mhm.
um, you know, I am due up for a little nap. Sure.
You must take care of yourself in this process. We need people like yourself to stay healthy. It's very important. But I think we can all in this room feel what you're expressing, and I'd like to proceed and cue up Fair Wayne. Where'd you get those?
Those are my own. That's why I don't have them. I had to use them today. That's why I'm so damn tired.
All right. We are back. Powerful words and powerful music from David Whitman. I want to thank you again for sharing your empathy, your story around this issue, and for your creativity. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to folks as we move on through the Ropeadope Festival, David?
Af- yeah, one last thing. If you get a chance, go sign that petition. And it's really about getting the message out about the situation and the understanding. That even if those things happened and he was guilty, and everything, those are petty crimes that come out of poverty, and circumstance that are really beyond your control. And if you don't understand that, you can go look into all of that. I hope you enjoy that, and thanks for listening today too, because that's when it matters.
Thank you so much, David. We appreciate you. So we're going to move on. I want to remind people that we're airing here the Ropeadope Music and Arts Festival, where we have some wonderful video premieres and commentary from the Ropeadope community of artists. Earlier today, we talked a little bit about Ropeadope imprints and what that was about. It's basically putting A&R and control, keeping it in the hands of artists. And this gentleman goes back a long way with Ropeadope. Todd Clauser first came to us with his project, I Love Electric, years ago, and was connected already with the likes of Stephen Bernstein and some Ropeadope OG, as we like to call him. If I can get away with that as an OWG. Todd Clauser currently lives in Mexico City and is curating just some wonderful music under the Ropeadope Sur label. Todd, welcome.
Thanks, Louis, man. Nice to see you.
It's great to see you. I wish we could be in the same place, but I'm happy that we can talk over the miles. We're gonna run two videos from Ropeadope Sur. The first is you with Heck, a special guest who happens to be a founder of this record label, Mr. John Medeski. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because, it's funny to look at this in context now, right? So like before COVID, it was like we did this live thing and it was really amazing. And now here we are where it's almost like it's like unearthing the pyramids or something. Like there's a live show. Remember those?
Yeah.
So set the stage for us live at Ice House, Minneapolis. Most people think of Prince. Tell me what the scene is up there.
Yeah, Ice House is this venue. It's not, well, I guess maybe it's 6 years old now, but it became kind of the hang there in Minneapolis for musicians, creative musicians going out to check each other's projects out, doing experimental stuff. Kind of because of this Monday night series, which used to be in the Clown Lounge, is like 20 years old, that JT Bates runs. It was called JT's Jazz Implosion, and now he's not really curating anymore. So now it's just Monday Jazz at Ice House. But he built this whole scene there, really, and a lot of great bands either came out of there or played through there. A lot of the Bad Plus guys, a ton of Dave King projects, JT's own projects, Fat Kid Wednesdays, Happy Apple, all of these kind of some emblematic kind of Midwest jazz, Minnesota jazz groups came through there. So yeah, some years ago, I started playing there and collaborating with JT, and then had this amazing relationship with Medeski, because I used to take classes from him, start to kind of flourish and start collaborating. So we were able to get John there to Ice House to play a couple years in a row. Kind of playing a collection of my music, some Medeski stuff and improv. Yeah, so this was on a Monday night. I can't remember which year this was that we actually recorded it. 2017, maybe 2018.
Not sure. I have to ask you. I mean, John can play the groove, but also when he can get an edge.
Yeah,
a real edge. And you seem to, despite your pleasant and comfortable demeanor at all times. When you're on stage, you can bring that edge. Did you feel him like sort of coming up to meet you, like the heaviness?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know exactly how that all comes about, but yeah, I think music for me, I mean, it's been about expressing things that maybe I didn't know how to express, in other ways. So it could be, yeah. Sometimes it's beautiful and happy. Sometimes it's angry. Sometimes it's
Right.
disappointed. And yeah, John just such an inspiring musician and person. Like the power, the force, the commitment that he plays with on stage, and just constant creativity. He's just throwing things in different directions at all times is just so inspiring to feel. And when you when you get into that sort of conversation with him or other musicians as well, it's just that's kind of what we live for.
There you go. Do you want to talk about the song itself, "You the Brave," or should we just cue it up?
Yeah, sure. This is a I don't know if it's kind of a spoken word sort of piece, improv spoken word. This thing that kind of became a song, by random occurrence. So yeah, it's JT Bates on drums, incredible drummer out of Minneapolis, John Medeski on the keyboards, and me on guitar and voice.
Okay, let's drop in there.
Into the lion, 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 into the lion.
All right, we're coming back in. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. We are here live at the Ropeadope Room, the Ropeadope Music and Arts Festival, a combination of discussion with artists, some video premieres, some live performances from the not too distant past that we're all savoring. I want to remind you, if you're watching, this is Bandcamp Day. So the whole point of doing this on this Friday is to support Bandcamp because they have been incredibly supportive of independent musicians. They waived their fees and have donated, I'm estimating, but somewhere between $1 and $2.5 million in the last few Bandcamp days directly to independent artists. We at Ropeadope have had our most successful quarter on Bandcamp, and it's a beautiful thing because there's no delay, and we get to cut checks as soon as we can get the accounting done to everyone, and it's such an important time right now to get money directly to artists. It's not enough, but anything now is good. So I want to urge you, if you're watching, and you have the means, to go to Bandcamp. It's downloads.ropeadope.com. All Ropeadope releases are there, but also at the top of the page is very important links to the imprints that are associated with the Ropeadope label. So specifically today, I want to point out Ropeadope Sir. We have Todd Clauser in the room, and you just watched two of his presentations. First is his own project with JT Bates and John Medeski, which came out a bit ago, and then La Pingo's Orchestra with Todd also performing. So I don't know much about jazz or jazz critics, but I want to say it seems like the press, the critics, the people that really, make it their life to write about jazz, just love this band. And Fabian's on the line. Do you find that?
I would agree.
There you go. So Todd, please pave this for us. So who are La Pingo's Orchestra? How did you discover them? And where are we now?
Yeah, these guys are from a town called Aguas Calientes, Mexico, which is maybe 5-6 hours north of Mexico City, kind of Midwest Mexico, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's the Des Moines of Mexico, maybe the Kansas City of Mexico. It would be some sort of parallel we could draw. Yeah, and I actually, one of my first gigs in Mexico was teaching at this Encuentro de Jazz, like a week of jazz clinics and shows in Aguas Calientes, like 10 years ago. I didn't speak any Spanish. I was just kind of getting in there, but they still had me there. And I met these guys at that point. There were students there at that festival. And we kept in touch, and yeah, just really, great people, really love making music. And I think that's something that comes across in what they do. It's not, for them, it's not about technical prowess. And I don't even know if they would consider themselves jazz. Actually, I'm pretty sure they won't. But yeah, it's definitely instrumental music, and there's some of that in there. But it's just what they do has a real genuine spirit to it. And I feel, lucky to be a part of that. I think I produced their first record, which came out on Ropeadope Sur, called Peregrino, like 4 years ago. And then we've just done a lot more work together. And then we did this recent record that just came out called Midwest Bajío. It came out about a month ago, and we did it together.
I think that Peregrino or there might have been, there's another that was listed in the top 10 jazz albums on Bandcamp.
Yeah. Peregrino, yeah, that was a shock. It was awesome. It was very exciting for those guys. And me as well. And I think, Warranted, I think it is a really cool record. You just don't know that. And I was, because of being part of Ropeadope that got discovered. But you don't expect that, being from Aguas Calientes, Mexico, that, media in the US is going to name your record among the top 10, considering all the jazz and great music.
There's a lot. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad that you're the connector, and you've told me over the years, how vibrant the jazz scene and music scene is in general in Mexico, which is not something that would normally seep through our mainstream media. So happy to have that connection and channel. I want to say thank you for doing what you do. I want to urge people to check out everything on Ropeadope Sur. Take a journey, take a break, and enjoy that. And thanks again, Todd. Appreciate
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for embracing it. Thanks for having me.
We're going to move up to the Los Angeles area and say hello to Matt Silberman, aka Narducci. Matt, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Lewis?
I am about 24 minutes away from a whiskey, so I'm doing great.
I feel that. Hey, about 24 minutes from the joint.
There you go. There you go. Which is legal where he is. Yes.
It is. Hopefully soon.
So your record recently came out
Yeah.
here at Ropeadope, and again, it's always interesting to see, because we put a lot of music out. We didn't get up one morning and say, let's put out a bunch of records. We just happened to be plugged in with some people, and some people told some other people. And so there's a whole lot of records coming our way. And it's really interesting to see what the reactions are going to be. And I think we kind of got some great reactions from unusual places with this record so far. There's this kind of network of tastemakers that spread from the UK to Tokyo to Paris, and of course New York and LA, and it's always interesting to see which ones are going to tune in to which. But it's a thoroughly enjoyable record, and I can't say I can compare it or define it.
I don't know that I did either, and I made it. I feel you.
There you go.
Definitely, I'd call it genre bending for sure.
So we're gonna jump in. There are two videos back to back. Take a Left Turn at the Moon might be one of the best song titles I've heard in a long time, followed by Burn Alive. So can you pre-pave this for us? Tell us what would you want the audience to know before they watch these?
Well, so these are both part of my new EP, Journey to Los Angeles, that just came out this past Friday on Ropeadope. And the first track, Take a Left Turn at the Moon, well, I should back up quickly. It's sort of an autobiography of sound for me. And so growing up, my mom is an opera singer, and she sings on the track, Take a Left Turn at the Moon. So the vocals you hear are actually my mom, Gail Gordon. And growing up, she used to call me her space child because I'm a little spacey, if Lewis and Fabian already know. And so the concept for this track was sort of like coming to Earth from outer space. And, what if you did take a left turn at the moon, ended up on Earth? So the video will reflect that. And then it goes into Burn Alive, which is sort of a commentary on just all the different things that are going on in the world, and specifically the United States at the moment. We're dealing with authoritarianism, we're dealing with racism, police brutality, climate change and our non-reaction to it, now COVID. There's so many things going on. I think the song is sort of a commentary on that, and a question as to, like, are we going to burn alive? Like, how are we going to make it through this? There's all this craziness going on, and I think it's incumbent on us to just come together and unite and stand up to all these negative things. And so I think the video will reflect that. You'll see a lot of different aspects of what's going on, and hopefully it's not a reflection of what's going to happen. I don't want us to burn alive, but we'll see.
No one knows what will happen. Mr. Brown, do you have any comments or questions before we head into these videos?
I'm just excited for the good people to take a look at it. I'll save my comments for on the way back.
You got it. All right, let's get into Take a Left Turn at the Moon. I want to point out that I took it from the direction of Earth. This is actually coming from the other direction. Take a Left Turn at the Moon. Don't get lost, folks. Here we go.
tangled wings, ugly faces, pretty things.
Hands up, don't shoot! Hands up!
We're gonna burn alive. We're gonna burn alive. We're gonna burn alive. We're gonna burn alive. Never walk alone these dangerous streets to swallow up the meek, left defenseless in the den of thieves. They all told us we should count our blessings. We did not believe. Choking underwater, no one breathes. Living in shattered dreams. We're gonna burn alive. Living in shattered dreams. We're gonna burn alive. Living in shattered dreams.
All right, we are back. I'm gonna hand the mic over to Mr. Fabian Brown, co-host.
Amazing. Thank you, Lewis, and thank you, Matt. Listen, it's one thing to hear the track and to just have a thought of where it's going and what it means to you, but then you add the visuals on top of it, dude, and it brings it to this whole other level. Great production on the track, obviously, and on the video. Maybe just tell a little bit about the process and the thoughts that were going through your mind putting those visuals together with the music.
For sure. I mean, so for Take a Left Turn at the Moon, the idea was really inspired by the series Cosmos. I'd never watched the original version with Carl Sagan back in the day, but remember when it came back with Neil deGrasse Tyson, I was super inspired by it. And I loved, they had this sort of like spacecraft that they would travel through, this sort of computer generated universe in. And I thought that was such a cool idea. So I kind of wanted to get that vibe for the video for Take a Left Turn at the Moon. The track is kind of take you through space proverbially. And so Corey Ulrich, the gentleman who directed both of those videos, he was able to animate that really spectacularly. And the idea is like, you're coming to Earth from space, you take a left to the moon, and then it drops you right into Los Angeles. And then it transitions to the Burn Alive music video, which, is sort of a commentary on America in general, but specifically also Los Angeles. It's like, in the years since I moved back here from New York, it's, so much more homelessness and crime and all these unfortunate things, and, problems of drug addiction. And I'm worried about my city. I'm worried about my country. And so the concept for this video is a little bit of kind of the movie Escape from Los Angeles mixed with more of later acts to The Matrix, kind of these different post-apocalyptic movies, being that, this dystopian future as a warning and then take it back to the present and all these we have going on right now, you know, issues of police brutality, racism, and the idea is, what if you had this VHS tape, it came from the future, but it was really showing us the present, you know, showing us what's going on now and warning us, like, we have to deal with this, you know, we can't keep sweeping it under the rug. And I think that's why you're seeing all these protests and on all these, it's because everyone knows, like, we got to deal with this now. We can't keep ignoring it and keep letting people get killed and all the, no pun intended, but trumped up charges and all these things. You know, I think there's an attempt to reflect that and to, you know, just have a cool cinematic vibe, because I love those movies as well.
Excellent. I mean, first of all, I applaud all of you artists who are taking on so much more than just being creative with your God-given gifts of just creating music. I mean, you're doing that, and on top of it, you're putting a lot of context and meaning, and you're making it relevant to today, man. So, you know, my hat's off to you and to all the other independent artists out there that are putting a lot of meaning behind, you know, not just meaning behind their music, because they're doing that every single day, but relevance to
Right.
what's going on in our world today. I think that's important, and it looks like your responsibility and all the artists' responsibility, because, you know, you guys have the voice, you guys have the megaphone, you guys have the audience, you know, you have the attention of people, and when artist takes that seriously and uses that energy and that attention for the better of humankind, and that's amazing. So thanks for that.
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you so much, Matt. We are having a little bit of technical difficulty. So what we're going to do here, I wanted to acknowledge that Mr. Sean Martin is in the room. What we're going to do is we're going to, instead of talking with Sean first, we're going to queue up the video, and then I'm going to reboot Zoom so we can come back. Does that work for you, Sean?
Absolutely.
All right, let's queue up Focus by Sean Martin. coming
How
in.
you do it?
Coming in. All right, we are back, and thanks for bearing with us through the technical difficulties. We just saw Focus by Sean Martin with Sput Seawright rocking a circa 2005 Blue Note t-shirt printed by yours truly over in my clothing days. And the great Keith Taylor. Sean Martin, welcome. Just thank you for being you and doing everything you do and bringing such
Oh
positive
man,
to the world. That
thank you
smile.
so
I
much,
love,
man.
and I want to, because you've got Keith Taylor in this video, we have to talk about this a little bit. We talk about God's property. I just saw, I pulled up a video of the 10th anniversary
Okay.
of
Okay.
God's property at the church.
Yep.
Like
Which
that's a whole scene that people don't even know.
Oh yeah.
Tell a little bit about
It
that
gets
whole
serious. So a lot of us, we all kind of grew up together in the same neighborhood, right? And so we all became a part of this community choir, which is God's property. And then later on, throughout the years, we were introduced to Kirk Franklin, who ended up recording the group and making it a thing, right? And so, for us as the band, we were always around each other, like, kind of like brothers, and we still are to this day. To this day, we're still always around each other. Keith and his two kids, we all hang out. His wife, we all hang out. Sput was going to actually join in, but he's having a pool party for his son, Little Robert. So,
wow.
Yeah, because today is Little Robert's birthday. So
happy birthday.
Yeah, they went to a pool party, which is coincidentally right up the street from my house. So I might swing by there and
there you go.
Hang out for a little bit. But yeah, but we've always been, super, super close. And so that, like that 10-year, I think now we really started hanging out and playing music together around 1991. And we've always played together. I think this is the first, the new album that's coming out is the first album that I don't have Robert Seawright or Keith Taylor on, which is a first for, I use them on gospel records. I use them on everything, those are the only guys that I can be in a room and we not look at each other and we'll all play exactly the same stuff. Without it's just our camaraderie, our it's just deep.
I've said this before in conversation with you and with Sput and with Terrace Martin out in LA, but I just want to say it again for those who are watching. So there's this thread that really, times are different, right? There's so much content out there, but back in the day when Ray Charles flipped the script a little bit and soul music, happened, and gospel and R&B kind of, everything changed, right?
That's right.
Because he brought that gospel in, right? That's exactly the impact of what you guys have done in American music in the last 10 to 15 years is bigger than anybody realizes. And it's a thread that runs from the church to the studio. So, God's property from Linda Seawright, Sput's mom, and Kirk Franklin, and all of you taking what music that there he is.
There he is.
I'm telling your story, bro. I don't think people fully understand. I think people should look into it. There he is, the man, Sput Seawright, the connector. I can't do it justice. You've got to dig into it. But basically, these cats are playing in the church, and they're bringing all that power, not just the power of the music and gospel music, but the power of a music and gospel community to the music business, right? So it starts there in Dallas, Texas. It spreads out to Los Angeles with Interscope, right? And then connections with other musicians out there from Terrace Martin to Snoop Dogg to many others, and Sean can rattle off a list of people that he's worked with, and Spud can do the same. And then strangely enough, completely infiltrates and invades the white college jazz kid culture through your work with Snarky Puppy,
Right.
as they were, down in Dallas looking for something happening, and made their way down to Deep Ellum and hung out with you and RC and Sput. And this has had such an amazing impact on the blending of culture, and also bringing like rooted power of gospel to me into our like everyday music. It's stunning. Have I got it right?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of that really is due to, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you called him that, the great connector. Spud is the great connector.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been able to, bring people together, for whatever the common cause is, and bring the right people together. I mean, even when I first met Spud, I was an incoming freshman to high school, and I'd seen him before, but I had never met him. And then it was like, I was a sport 13. Wait, I can't tell my age, kind of. Okay.
You was 13.
I tell you what, I was 13. He's old, so we'll say that.
Welcome, Spud Seawright. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm listening to some funk.
Nice.
Can y'all hear that? Yeah. Now, what y'all over here talking about, man?
We're talking about how you guys have changed music, and people have yet to really fully document and recognize it. You've had an amazing impact.
Because we always, the scene here is just behind the scene. Behind the scenes. That's I mean, that's what it's been known. If we start talking about it, we start changing history.
That's true.
Because I mean, like, a lot of people are famous. A lot of people are famous from the likes of people that you think was just their musician. So I mean, and that's just how that goes. I mean, like, but in other cities, they take more pride in being the credit, but we're just trying to do what we do to help and serve, and then hopefully it comes back to us. But now I think most of the people like Sean, I mean, like, he's venturing out finally and doing his own thing, where people are going to connect the dots sooner or later. But I mean, if they don't, they can just follow me when I get drunk or something. I tell everybody.
So I think we might be about to do that. Yeah, we might be doing that right now.
I think
Greg have a cup.
Sean. Yeah,
Greg have a cup.
Sean definitely. I'm sorry. I got some friends that enjoying the moment of freedom of speech. Yeah, I mean, like, I think we all do that, though. I think Sean, when he gets a minute, he's able to, sometimes we get to a point where we're like, all right, y'all, okay, what really happened is this. But it's not. I think when you set out to just do a good work and just give it to people, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't think
that's the long-lasting impact, and that's the beauty of it. And that's why I said it's not just it. That's a cultural change, not just like a popular change, right? You're representing each one, teach one. You're representing community, and you have powerful change. It's not as dramatic or as obvious to people, but it's something. I mean, we're right in the middle of it. So we can see it.
I think people on the other side get to see a piece of work, right? Or they see a career, and they see that. But for us that are doing it, it's just like another job. It's another opportunity to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we don't really see it that way. So once we do that, we put it out. We do what we do. We do what we're asked to do. or we do what comes natural to do for us in our habitat. And then it's out, and then you're on to the next thing, and then you get remembered by everybody who's being inspired by it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You get to relive it now. You know, I mean, Sean called me to do, what we talking about? Focus?
Mm-hmm. Yep, focus.
Yep.
Okay. Sean called me to do Focus. I forgot I was on the record. I literally forgot I was even on his record because I was like, I only played one song, I think, right?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Only played one song. So I was easy. It was, you know, I came in the studio. Sean's asked me to do so much stuff. So, I mean, half the time I don't know who record I'm playing on, but I do remember. So, you know, like that's what we do that for each other. You know, it's like we, hey, come in the studio, come lay down something, you know, and then the record comes out later, and then, you know, oh, that's what we was working on. I mean, that's happened so many times. So I've played with Sean, but I was mostly proud of Sean because he'll tell you, like, I'm always fussing at him about, you know, stepping away and doing his own thing. I've always done that, you know, like since I did it. I was definitely telling him, hey man, step away, do your own project, do your own thing, promote your own stuff, you know, do that. And then, you know, now he get it, but at first he used to think I was just fussing at him. But the thing is, when we, you say what? I was just saying, I was just happy that he did it. He did his record. You know, he was able to do. He wanted to do a trio record, and he did. I was just happy he put it out, but I forgot I was on.
I want to quickly tie that back into a conversation that's ongoing here at Ropeadope and in these festival things or any of the conversations we've had online, and that is musician faces a choice about whether to take that risk and do their own thing, or whether to take the gig that's paid, right? Especially if you got family, you know, and what. So everybody else in the world is taking the paid gig. Musicians are sometimes taking the gig and then taking the risk, right? And it's an uncertain world. So, you know, kudos for, you know, pushing Sean in that direction, because we're all the better for it. But also kudos to Sean for like saying, yeah, I'm going to step out there. This is a concept that just keeps coming back that I think people need to understand, like fans need to understand, is like you're putting yourself at risk when you put yourself out there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a huge risk, you know, but I mean, what better risk is there to take? You know, if you can't bet on anybody else, always bet on yourself.
Damn straight.
You know, so yeah, I think
it's
a great thing.
The thing is that it is a risk, but I mean, like, well, what are we really saying? You know, it's like asking a question and you know, not asking a question because you're afraid of what the answer is going to be. You know, right. I mean, like the point in asking the question is to find out. If it's no, that's the worst it could go. You know what I'm saying? But if you ask the question, then you know how to measure yourself or you do it. So for me, if you step out there and do it, yeah, what is the risk? You know, like the risk is that if that doesn't work out, you could always go back and do the other thing because you're still that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so for us, a lot of times it's just programming. It's like routine. You get into a habit. You get into a habit of helping people so much that psychologically and subconsciously, everything you create automatically goes to the shelf. It automatically goes to the back burner until you say, "Oh, I gotta find some time to put it out," and then it never comes, and you have to force yourself to do it. But we don't have that mentality when we're helping people. That's not what we're not putting our creative ideas on back burner. So it's just like a habit. That's all it is, you know. Right. I mean, like those ideas come straight up. We put it out. I mean, they put it out. I mean, it's immediately represented or presented it, you know, to the world, you know. So I think it's mostly psychological. That's the point I'm making. I just think it's, you know, at that point, you just have to just make a decision to do it. And if you don't have people encouraging you, you don't have people empowering you or motivating you, like, you know, like homeboys or homegirls or mentors, you know what I'm saying? Like, then you're at a disadvantage.
Well, you guys have given us a model of how people encourage each other. It's not lost on me. I see it come out of Dallas. One of the first things, you know, as we were building the new Ropeadope, I saw it in Atlanta and I saw it in Dallas, where people were encouraging and supporting each other in the community. Being from Philadelphia, I had not witnessed something like that before. So, you know, there was
That's weird. That sounds weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the concept of competition, and when you get deep, is like, you know, that's a capitalist concept, right? It's like people competing with each other. So don't help your friends, kind of a vibe. This is a competitive kind of a vibe. Only a certain number of people are going to make it. You know, don't do your own thing. And Dallas, to me, to this day, is really, you guys are like the best model I've ever seen of collaborative community and people supporting each other.
Oh yeah, man. I can tell you there are times where, of course, everybody's super busy, and everybody's got 500 things going on, whether it's MDing this or producing that, but every once in a while we'll all come together. We might go to Hooters or somewhere like that, and just sit up and we'll ask each other, what do you want to do, and how can I help you? Because to help my friends, to help people accomplish their goals, well, that only helps me accomplish things too. Because guess what I'm doing along the way? I'm learning, I'm growing. As I'm helping them, I'm also growing. I'm also finding out things, that I might not have known. So when it comes time for me to do my thing, I've learned because I've seen this pitfall already. I know where the bones are buried, and so I think that, it really is kind of weird you say that, about Cats Philly, because everybody I know Philadelphia, they love Philly. Philly loves Philly, and I love Philly. Yeah, I mean, some of my greatest friends live in Philly, but that's one thing that we've always done here. Like I say, we'll go, to an establishment with scantily dressed ladies sometimes, and and we'll literally, we'll get a pile of wings and some crab legs, and we'll say, say, hey, how can I help you? What do you want to accomplish, and how can I help you? And that's something that we've always done that. Like it's not anything, I mean, even when Spud was recording the first Ghost Note album, he called at like 2:30 in the morning, and I just so happened to be leaving a session with Kirk Franklin around the same time, and I was passing right by the studio that he was recording the Ghost Note album at. And he was like, "Hey man, can you come play something?" I'm like, "I'm literally just past this exit," and I had every keyboard in my arsenal in the car. The weirdest thing ever, And so I was like, "Hey, it's 2:30 in the morning. Let's go." Let's but that's always kind of been our mantra, amongst brothers. So I think that definitely having that camaraderie is very, very important. Having the and having the sense of knowing that I'm great because you're great. You know what I'm saying? I can do well because you're doing well, or having that kind of community. It's very, very important.
That's definitely the mentality. It's a mentality. He's right, because it's the mentality is that we're a team, no matter what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, like we're like a basketball team. Like a 15, we might grow it. It might be 20 by next year. You know what I'm saying? But
that's right.
I was thinking about RC, because RC won't put out a Grits record unless me and Sean is on it. Like he won't complete the process of the record unless we come. I mean, like I think I played on like interludes just to be on the record for RC.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like just so for him to say I'm on the record, just because we feel incomplete having, each other, not having each other involved in some kind of way, And so he's right, but what I would say is the competition is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You still got the competition here. I think the competition aspect is the natural aspect, but I think that the thing that sounds weird is because Philly is known for great producers and great musicians. Like they all like, and you know who they are by name. Like you know them, and it always seemed like a united. It always seemed like a locking of arms, and every time you see this name, you gonna see that name. Every time you see that name, you gonna see that name. That's kind of what I've always seen with Philly. Now going there is different because I mean it is a little more spread out. You come to Dallas, you see the scene in 20 minutes. You'll
Right.
see everybody you need to see within the scene, even if they're not doing the gig. They coming from their other gig on a break to support this other, you know what I'm saying, the other artists. I mean, like you'll see everybody walking on the street in one city. So I mean, like that's just something we've always done because we started out at the crib doing jam sessions at mom's house.
Right.
We started out
That's
doing
right.
that. So I mean, like when you start doing that, it's people that talk to me that I don't even know, but they was at my house and they'd be like, "Yeah, man, what's going on?" I was like, "Bro, what's your name? You used to be at my house." I mean, like, so it was like that's how much of a community thing it was. It's like people was there that you might not even know, and 20 years later, they're like, "Man, that changed my life." It's like, really? It's like, it's crazy. But that's where it started from. And so that's why I think Dallas is like that, but I would venture to say that, there's got to be other cities that have those stories. It's just, when the camera is in your face, you're able to tell a story differently,
Well,
and I think Philly had that. They had the luxury of that.
I see something different. I mean, competition definitely encourages people to be, to grow and be better. Little bit of competition doesn't hurt. I see people that have camaraderie in the Philadelphia area. I think it's changing. I think it's becoming a little bit more. My real reason for even bringing it up is like, it's a message to the world. Like there's a way to have collaborative community and grow that seed. But all I'll say about Philadelphia in the past is there's a lot of greatness and there are a lot of wonderful people and there's some great scenes. Most of the people that have done that well and are successful aren't in Philadelphia anymore.
Gotcha. I
So
got you.
Okay, I get you.
that speaks a little bit, and it's no disrespect. I'm not trying to
Right.
disrespect them. You do what you want to do. I just see a difference
Totally,
coming up.
totally. Well, I would just say that even the thing, it's like for us down here in Dallas is sacrifice because we sacrifice platform for the work, So a lot of like in a lot of these cities where you see all these things happen is because there's a platform there. There's like the industry comes there for them,
Right.
And for us, we were putting out more than people was coming in, because there's so much here to work with before people actually get in, So I mean, the platform has been a thing, and that's what we're hopefully trying to change here is like making sure that this could be a hub that people could, come here to be inspired and do great things from.
So,
But
let me,
congratulations, Sean, by the way, on releasing Focus.
there you go.
Thank you very much.
So I want to remind everybody real quick that, downloads.ropeadope.com. You can find Sean Martin's album, Focus. Today is Bandcamp Friday, so Bandcamp is waiving their fees, and we thank them for that. If you enjoyed that video, and even if you didn't see it, go and listen to Sean Martin's music. It's going to be a wonderful thing for your day, and support. Also want to mention, because Sput's in the room, that at the top of the page on Bandcamp, there is RSVP Records is listed, and you can find everything that his label has released. Sean, you want to share? You kind of teased at it a minute ago. You got something new coming up.
Yeah, man. I was very lucky to. As a matter of fact, I was saying this before. This is the first album that I've done without Robert C. Wright and Keith Taylor But just know the next album after this one that comes out, they're gonna be all over it. FYI.
There you go.
He didn't need us on this one. He didn't need us on this one. He didn't need us on this one. Because that's the thing too. No, because that's the thing too. Like when you switch it up, you're able to be inspired differently, and you're able to be. And the reason why I say this because I did a stream, 2-day streaming thing last week, and I invited Sean to play and kind of was hoping that he would showcase or kind of tease his new project, and we lucked up and we got him to play 2 songs, not 1 but 2 songs from it, and everybody's mouth was dropped. Everybody, I mean, like me and RC are probably his 2 oldest friends in the room, and we were looking at each other like, God damn it, Sean. You know what I mean? Like, it's like no matter what you know about, I mean, you can hear the influence, you can hear the inspiration, you can hear that he was pushed to even do something greater, you know. So I mean, that's the beauty of us, you know, like we all have done great. I mean, I could call Sean and Corey and Mike Lee to be in the band, but there's really not a way we can actually really make that happen, you know, with all the other things that, you know, especially being, you know, there's, so you have to kind of be open to do other things and to call upon other people and give, you know what I'm saying, create other situations with those people. And I mean, like, and then when you know, then you feature. So that's the beauty of it. So seeing and hearing this record, man, I mean, seeing and hearing him perform was amazing last week.
So yeah, it's a great body of work. It features Mike Mitchell on drums and Matt Ramsey, who is a younger bass player, plays with Kirk, features him on bass. It's a trio. So it's a trio album, and I want to take the trio thing and kind of expand the sound palette just a little further. So there are synths, there's, you know, pianos, there's my son Harlem taking a bath. You know, it's like there's a lot of things on there. So, you know, I think it's gonna be something worth listening to.
Beautiful. So SeanMartin.bandcamp.com, pick up Focus and get ready. Look for the pre-order for his new album to be announced. We're not going to tell you today.
That's right.
I want to step back, and I want to also mention we talked with Matt Silverman, Narducci. You can find his record at downloads.ropeadope.com in that second row. Please support.
I want to find that video.
What's that?
I want to find that video is banging.
We're gonna probably. I don't know how that works. We're gonna break that.
I think the video is also on the Bandcamp page as well. Is that right, Matthew?
Oh, we look.
Matt's muted. Yeah.
Okay.
It might be frozen.
He's saying hello.
Sorry, guys. Hey.
Is that video also on the Bandcamp page?
It will be very shortly, and just premiering right now on YouTube as well. So you can go to my YouTube channel, Narducci on YouTube, and see it there. It will be on narducci.bandcamp.com, and it's in a playlist. So far out of the 5 songs, we have 3 music videos. We'll have hopefully one for I Am Free and The Sun, the other 2 tracks as well, coming soon. So it'll be a really cool playlist of music videos. And yeah, support all the Ropeadope musicians on Bandcamp today. Bandcamp is the best site for musicians, bar none. So please, whether it's me, whether it's all these other great artists on here, please just support us on Bandcamp. It's the best way.
You got it. All right. Thank you all. We're going to jump in with some other music premieres, and I want to queue up right now something from Max Besessin, Blue Glass Halo.
gila gila. Oh oh, jiggy 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 jiggy. Hey hey, gila 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 gila. Hey, ó ní kí n mọ gbàgbé ọ̀rọ̀ wa jọ sọ. Ó ní kí n mọ gbàgbé ọ̀rọ̀ wa jọ rò. Ó ní kí n mọ gbàgbé ọ̀rọ̀ wa jọ sọ. Ó ní kí n mọ gbàgbé ọ̀rọ̀ wa jọ rò. Ọ̀rọ̀ ìfẹ́ òun ló ṣe kókó. Ọ̀rọ̀ ìfẹ́ òun ló ṣe pàtàkì. Ọ̀rọ̀ ìfẹ́ òun ló ṣe kókó sẹ́. Ọ̀rọ̀ ìfẹ́ òun ló ṣe pàtàkì. Uweye uweye go 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 go. Uweye uweye go 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 ba. Uweye uweye go 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 go. Uweye uweye go 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 ba. Big me bam fight around reality. Big me bam fight around reality. Big me bam fight around reality. Money big me bam ràjò kó fi ilé rẹ̀ sílẹ̀ ìgbín kì í ràjò kó fi ilé rẹ̀ sílẹ̀ ìgbín kì í ràjò kí ó fi ilé rẹ̀ sílẹ̀ ìgbín kì í ràjò kó fi ilé rẹ̀ sílẹ̀ o. Ekuro la baku ẹwà o 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 ibi ó bá ń rẹ̀ lèmi yóò máa bá ọ lọ ibi ó bá ń rẹ̀ lèmi yóò máa bá ọ lọ ibi ó bá ń rẹ̀ lèmi yóò máa bá ọ lọ ibi ó bá ń rẹ̀ lèmi yóò máa bá ọ lọ. Ọ̀rọ̀ ìfẹ́ òun ló ṣe kókó ọ̀rọ̀ ìfẹ́ òun ló ṣe pàtàkì ọ̀rọ̀ ìfẹ́ òun ló ṣe kókó sẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ìfẹ́ òun ló ṣe pàtàkì. Uweye uweye gbọ́ 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 jigi 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 gila 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 oh jigi 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 gila 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 ah jigi 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 oh gila 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 jigi 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 oh oh gila 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 gila.
Seni istiyorum deme bana, beni sevmiyorsun ki. Seni istiyorum deme bana, beni sevmiyorsun ki. Parmaklarının arasından akıp giden suyum sadece. Parmaklarının arasından Seni istiyorum deme bana. Beni sevmiyorsun ki. Parmaklarının arasından akıp giden suyum sadece. Seni istiyorum deme bana. Beni sevmiyorsun ki. Niye kapılacağım yansın istersen. Ben soyum ona izin vermem.
Yeah. Alright. Alright. I jumped in with a grin, bumped my chin, scraped my knee, earned my scars, pray for me. It's such a blessing. I'm wrestling with thought, trying to pin something to the pad, the mat. The fat was trimmed but grew back. I went against the grain and my instinct said, I told you not to do that. I knew that this, that, boom, bat. Didn't you feel your stomach churn? Burn like reflux. I make mistakes, then lose trust. Stagnant is my magnet when my thoughts are tragic. But when I'm clear, I steer clear the fear I hear. You hear that? Sounds like a dream come true. Refreshing like when dreams come to you and reveal themselves in a song, a poem. Straighten you out like a hot comb, perm. New lessons help us unlearn our ignorance. Each moment is significant, but we take them for granted. I'm trying to rebuild the damage, bridge the gap. Tap into the source, breathe through my course. What board is this? What's the mission? What's the plan? Listen. It's us against the damn, but damn, they winning. They think they winning, you ain't winning. Trying to hypnotize us with their lies. Wake up, open your eyes, stretch your soul. Connect with the role you were put here to play. Looking at barrels and damn the spray. We bulletproof, we'll let the bullets loose. You can't strike us all down. We hurting, but we ain't all in the ground. Each death fertilizes our spirit, our growth, our hope. Our hearts still pound like the first drum played. We burst civilizations like the first love made. Ooh, it feels so good, just like I knew it would. I'm back to meet my neighbors in the hood, back to looking to the stars, looking into hearts, connecting, reflecting. We all been detecting a change, a shift, a tilt in the axis like a close call. It's no accident. Something's happening. Feel that? Something's happening. Unraveling. I'm babbling. Purpose. Have you found yours? Ignore yours. You get an itch to explore more, open more doors, peek in. We all seeking peace. To the east, my brother to the east. I'm from an X-clan, finishing these moves so I can move to the next plan. I'm plotting. Yes, I get it popping. I pop in so I like it intertwine and dance between minds. Hands open wide. I'm catching feelings. Ooh, I got that spirit. Can't you hear it? Yeah, you hear it. They fear it when we get here, when we get up there, when we scale the air, when we breathe without stress. Yes, we forget how blessed we are. We come far, but not far enough. I look in the mirror and ask myself, what you gon' do in the clutch? I'm breaking the cuss, pushing past the cuss. Pay attention to what they doing to us. Clarity is a must. Habits come calling. In the eye of the storm, I'm holding on to everything that's calming. The fight is exhausting. Thank God I ain't lost it. Thank God I ain't lost it. I stay praying to him. Time to get back in the gym, back on the pen, working it out. Know it gon' all work out in the end. Why pretend like it ain't? You think things gon' defeat you, but they can't. You're stronger than that. I'm stronger than that. I done stood on mine. Ain't no turning back. All I got is my words, these conversations. Let them be heard in your nerves. Dig in your reserves, and let's raise our vibration. Let's raise our vibration. 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 Yeah.
This one's called "This Crazy Soul of Mine." It was written by my friend Mike Brown, who said he wrote the song about me because it pretty much explains me. So anyway. Well, let my mind go wandering and my soul just tag along. Well, it was bumming smokes at the gates of hell before I realized it was gone. Lord knows I like the nightlife. I ain't afraid of closing time. I gotta keep a close watch on this soul of mine. Well, it just might do walkabout, but it's never been for sale. I don't need the cash that bad, yes I do, and I've seen my share of hell. And I got my heaven here on earth, and she treats me more than fine. She likes to keep a close watch on this soul of mine. Yeah, some folks aren't too certain which side that I'm on. I tend to flip-flop back and forth, but I don't mean any harm. I'm still a little crazy, and my ways a little wild. I gotta keep a close watch on this soul of mine. Well, I might have been born yesterday, but I'll be downtown tonight, shining like a diamond underneath the neon light. Yeah, to show them everything I got till I haven't got a dime. I gotta keep a close watch on this soul of mine. Some folks aren't too certain which side that I'm on. I tend to flip-flop back and forth, but I don't mean any harm. I'm still a little crazy, and my ways a little wild. I gotta keep a close watch on this soul of mine. I gotta keep a close watch on this soul of mine. Lord, help me with this crazy soul of mine. Thank you.
Oh, give me a home where the cherry tree pickers pick up the cherries, where there's peace and quiet in the holy we are here.
And we are ready now.
Okay, I'll wait.
All right,
text you.
we are back. It's been an incredible day, an incredible afternoon here on Bandcamp Day, August 7th. I want to say that we had a goal coming into today, and we are very close to that goal. And the goal is, I'm not going to reveal a number, but it's very important because it's money that's going to go directly to artists. And I want to thank everybody that's tuned in. I want to thank everybody that has gone to Bandcamp. And I want to tell everybody that we are about to have a wonderful conversation between Christian Scott Atunde Ajua in California and Alexander Flood in Adelaide, Australia, who is traveling to us from another season. And it's tomorrow there. So, but really the reason for bringing that up is that we have until 3 a.m. Pacific time for people to go to Bandcamp, check out downloads.ropeadope.com, look at all of these wonderful musicians, and be sure to look at the top of the page. There are imprints that are associated with Ropeadope, one of which is Stretch Music, and that's where you can find Alexander Flood's new album, Heartbeat. You can support by purchasing, you can throw in some extra money, you can download, you can gift it to a friend. And if you do not have the means at this time, and we of course fully understand that, sharing is just as good. You're a tastemaker, let people know about the quality music that you've found and pass that along. Literally, the ability for musicians to keep making quality music depends on your support. So please do that. We're about to jump into a conversation with Christian Scott and Alexander Flood about his record and about music in general and life. I'm sure this is going to take some wonderful twists and turns. So I'd like to go to the West first and welcome Christian Scott Atunde Ajua.
All right. What's up, everybody?
And to the far east in Australia, Alexander Flood. And of course, my co-host is here, Fabian Brown. So Alex, welcome.
Hello, coming at you from the future again.
I love it. This is what the future looks like. And Fabian Brown, I'm going to let you have you moderate here, if you will. And we're going to turn the microphone over to Mr. Christian Scott Atunde Ajua to begin the discussion.
All right. I just want to start. Actually, that was really perfect, Alexander, what you just said, coming to you from the future. I think that's kind of a really good place to start because, you know, the record that you created is so forward thinking. You know, obviously, I have a ton of love for you and love what it is that you've created and your vision. So I kind of wanted to just start by having you sort of introduce yourself to folks that aren't as aware of you and your music. Obviously, you're a newer artist, and we just released this record. So you want to take a moment and introduce yourself a little bit, give a little bit of context for your background and how you became interested in creative improvised music and so forth, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Yeah, totally. My name is Alexander Flood. I'm from Adelaide, Australia, which is pretty far away from you know, a lot of the rest of the music that is being created, at least in my taste. A lot of the music that's being created is on the other side of the planet, so it feels very far away for me here, but it's a really cool place. So growing up in Australia has given me so many opportunities that have been unique in their own way, and you know, connections that are unique simply because they are so far away and in Australia. So I started playing music and playing drums when I was 8 years old, and kind of just literally started learning the drums to get out of class and to just hang out with my friends in a music lesson. But that very quickly grew into a pretty deep passion for the drums and for music. So
not for cutting glass.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's from. And then I guess moving forward into high school, music kind of took over. At the time I was playing lots of sport, and then I was starting to do more and more music, but music really took over, and I had, you know, no more time for any other commitments. It was just everything music. And so I very quickly fell in love with different types, because at this point I was kind of just playing drum set, playing in a band, and that was it. But now I was playing in an orchestra, playing in a mallet percussion ensemble, playing drums, playing in a funk band, jazz band, getting all this different experience across all these different sounds and styles, right? So I very quickly developed an ear, or developed an interest in world music, and I started playing congas, I think, in the big band, and then I was like, okay, I got to go deeper with this. So the whole kind of world music thing, or world percussion thing, that really blew up at that age when I was probably 15 or 16, and I got stuck pretty deep in checking out stuff online and really following my interest there. And then all of a sudden started building up a kind of a library of instruments at home to study with and just learn from and create with. That's essentially what it's been, a journey of learning and creation on the other side of it. So this record that we've just put out on Stretch Music and Ropeadope has been sort of like a snapshot along the way of that journey of where this learning of these instruments and these sounds and these cultures has sort of gotten to at this point, and where it's moving to in the future. It's been a crazy road to going from that to then suddenly working with Ropeadope and with Stretch Music. So going into that very, very briefly, I met Christian, I met Christian for the first time a few years before this, but I won't go into that. So we met again on the Blue Note cruise, which was the craziest week of my life, I reckon. I was on the Blue Note cruise, and I had no intentions, but I had to show Christian my music. At this point, the album was done, but there was no concrete plans for it. There was no release plans yet. I literally had just made it and was proud of it and wanted to show him, being one of my biggest heroes. So I showed him, we sat down, I gave him a set of headphones, I showed him the album, he listened through it, and then straight away we started talking. I had no idea what was going on, but he obviously had some ideas in his head. So we chatted, and then he got back in touch soon after that, and we went from there. So it was a really crazy, kind of quick, all of a sudden thing.
Talk about your experience on the boat, though. A lot of people, they in an environment like that, when you're on the Blue Note cruise, you have some of the best creative improvisers on the planet on one ship, right? Mm-hmm. So imagine if you could, for people that are outside of that context, imagine if you were essentially like on a boat in 1965. It was like Charles Mingus, Miles Davis, like all of these incredible bands are in one space. So, as someone that's coming into this music and developing what it is that you've been developing, speak to your experience there, because there was a buzz on the boat also about you, just because you were getting around and meeting guys and folks were interested in what it was that you were building. So, can you speak to that a little?
Coming from, again, going back to the Australia thing, being in Australia, it's like obviously it's so far away. So a lot of artists don't tour here, or if they do tour here, they usually tour the East Coast, like Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Mm-hmm. I'm in Adelaide, so we're just a little bit further west, and we don't get as many artists through. So often you have to travel, or you just miss out. So being in America alone was a totally different experience. Being close and having everything a lot more accessible as far as going to gigs, seeing the people that I'm listening to, this kind of thing. But then being on the boat was like they'd taken all of my favorite musicians in the world and then put them, trapped them all together in this very small, it was a big boat, but yeah, when you consider Australia and then America, and this very, very small confined kind of
walking
space.
Distance away. Yeah.
I checked in, went to my room, dropped my bags. As soon as, literally walk out of the door in the first 10 minutes of being on the boat, walking up the stairs and just past Nate Smith, past Eric Marianthal. I think I ran into you on the first night. I was like, what? Yep. Mm-hmm. So every corner you turn is just one of your heroes, and making the choice whether to just walk by and say hello, or whether to actually stop and chat to them and ask them questions, or, just speak to them. Was again, coming from Australia, that's not necessarily a very Australian thing to do, but I had to kind of put myself out of my comfort zone. Being a guest on the ship, it was, a different experience for me as it was for you. Mm-hmm. Sorry, being a ticket holder, not a performing guest. Mm-hmm. So yeah, putting myself out of my comfort zone and actually making the effort to chat to people and be really out of my depth to learn as much as I can and absorb from all these great people around me was a challenge for me. But that cruise totally changed my life. That was a great week.
Now it's like when you speak about your comfort zone and sort of being forced out of that, obviously these moments are really important for our growth. And one of the things that I appreciated so much about having that time to get to know you better, because we had seen each other in Europe and in a few different places, and so I don't want to give the impression that we were on the boat and we just saw each other and then that was it. We had done some hanging out before that, some powwowing and some talking, and
we were talking,
just just general conversations about what you hope for your future, what you're working on, these sort of things, and so but to be in a space where you're in that environment, and you're surrounded by all of these incredible practitioners from this culture of music, and there's all these questions and all these things, from my perspective, the courage that it takes for someone in that position to also be willing to like broker those things, approach, those conversations with people that have done this for a long time. This is really important, and so this, for people that are at home and younger folks, musicians that are coming up and trying to figure out, how to approach this thing, more often than not, we have we build this reverence for the characters that we admire, that play music or that are in the arts that we really love. But what I appreciated so much about your approach to dealing with everyone, and I'm sure that you can find some synergy between how you approach it and how you and I interact with each other, but was just be a person first, right? And how important that is in terms of how you interact and relate to people and the things that you can eventually build if you come in from that space energetic. So I will never forget that moment. Totally, I remember we were kind of even matching our clothes. It was like, what's going on here?
That was some weird shit.
That was really weird, but I really enjoy just having the time to sit down with you in the auditorium. I think it was like right after, I think Terrence Blanchard's band had rehearsed or someone was there. We were doing, and we sat down for maybe 40, 45 minutes just powwowing and really talking through this stuff and trying to figure out, I told you that we were kind of starting a program, kind of upstart music, at younger artists coming in to the fold. But immediately when I heard the record, like obviously we'd had moments where you come to sound checks and played a little bit with us and all those things. But, in terms of what you built in the record and what I could hear as part of the intention there, to me, that was really a beautiful thing that it was that you were trying to build in that moment, because it's so important for us, I think, on a larger level culturally to see each other. And so what I appreciated was part of what you intimated about your interest and all of these like seemingly disparate groups of music, cultural groups in music. So, my next question is kind of tethered to that a little bit. Was there an experience when you were, in general, that helped build an interest in different cultural perspectives in music when you were younger? Like where is that something that comes from your family life at home? Is that something that specifically happened once you started to get ears on music? How did that come about?
It actually took me a while to realize this. I was very lucky growing up we did a lot of family holidays. So we went all over like Asia, Europe, and parts of the Middle East as well. So
for Americans, holidays are vacations.
Vacation.
Yeah, vacation. Vacay.
Yeah. You need the Australian dictionary out.
Oh, absolutely. I do that all the time. I'm in Europe and people say, we're going on holiday. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Where are you going? I had a few experiences as like a 8-year-old through to being 12 years old, had some crazy experiences. We went to Cairo and Giza in Egypt. We went to some beautiful cities in Syria before Syria became what it is.
Yeah.
There's Morocco on there. There's all these crazy places which have such rich and diverse histories and cultures, and the way the music systems and the religious systems are such a fundamental part of the culture really shapes the way of life, but the people and obviously then the music that they create. But to me, from a very young age, I was just fascinated with these places. And then it was only recently, literally this year, that I made that connection of being that young. This was even before I played music. Some of those experiences were before I had any interest in music, right? And then realizing that now, that's, for me, that's such a strong link. The early travel that I did with my family, and then yeah, now I just have this, you know, I'll just at night go on Netflix and try find some documentary on something that I've never, some country or some culture that I've never learned anything about, because I'm interested in that. But it's just it's for me now, it's just, I have this hunger for like learning. Like when I was in school, I didn't want to do this assignment, I didn't want to do this, but I was happy to go home and learn about, you know, West African rhythms or tabla vocalization or things like this, these really unique, special things to me. I think that it's definitely important to do the learning and understanding and develop the right respect for these sounds, these traditions, these rhythms, these cultures, these people, all these things first, in order to build upon that and share that and actually help to educate other people on these things. I think that's really important. And with Heartbeat, that was always a part of the concept, was to use this as a platform or as a vehicle to help to share these things with other people and to help educate other people on these things and to diversify and expand other people's, or all of our listening experiences.
Right.
That's what I wanted to do, was to broaden this and open our ears and our minds and our hearts to all this music, which I was very lucky to have experience with and to be passionate about and creating and listening to. But I know there's a lot of people that have no idea about some things that they probably do want to know about. They just don't know about it, right? And building that love for, like you said, like for these things is so important. And that, you know, that brings people together.
Yeah, you know, I wonder if, you know, I had a similar experience as a younger person. And I wonder if there's, you know, if there are some correlations, you know, between our experiences. You know, when I was really small, when I was young, we used to tour with my grandfather, you know, my granddad, the chief, you know, he would tour internationally as a means of as a cultural exchange, right? So he would bring us, you know, even when we were 6, 7 years old, before I played music or any of these things. And I'll never forget one experience in particular. We went to Singapore and Malaysia when I was maybe 11 years old. And we participated in a festival called Thunderous Drums, which is where they basically invited all of these different cultures of rhythm into one space. I remember getting there and seeing, you know, contingencies from Indonesia and groups from Peru and all of these different things. And everyone was sharing. I'll never forget, you know, sitting in the hotel room with a brand new trumpet, you know, with that had a big dent in the bell because I had tried to like show off for my friends, and the bell was, I hit the bell on the door and closed the bell. My mother made me play with the bell like that for a year. You know, I always bring that up because me playing with the bell closed like that is partly why I have such a big sound now, because I was forcing this horn to have to do something because she was, if you messing around, you got to deal with this instrument now, you know? But anyway, so I had this experience where I'm in a hotel room with a kid that's from China. He's playing an erhu, right? And we're sitting there playing, you know, small, really small. And so we went downstairs to some of the rehearsals. And as I was listening to all of these different contingencies from all over the world, I was able to hear the synergy between what all of them were doing musically. So I could hear the connections between all of, now mind you, someone that's looking at that from the outside would say that a group of percussionists from Peru has nothing to do with a group of percussionists from Indonesia. But I'm literally hearing all of the links in terms of what it is that they're doing. And so, you know, to me, I think that was a really deeply fortifying moment, just because you're in a space where you're realizing that the expression is really human more than anything else, right? And so, you know, and so I think for me, that was when, obviously I wasn't really a heavy trumpet player at that point. So I was really more tethered to what was going on rhythmically in that moment, just because what, you know, when you're small and you're younger, you go to the thing that you know more about. And growing up in a tribal chiefdom, rhythms are the dominant thing, not just trumpets. Obviously, I'm from New Orleans, so when you say what you're saying, it makes me think of those moments, right? Like, I didn't realize I was going to be a musician. I didn't realize I was going to be a musician that was going to desperately try to like decolonialize sound through marrying seemingly disparate cultural groups, rhythms. But all of those things are the roots of that. So, to hear about your experience, I wonder if there was, maybe one moment in particular also where you were in a space where you were hearing multiple cultures at the same time, and that inspired something. Did you have a moment like that, or did that happen maybe later on?
I think, as far as I reckon that would have been something that happened gradually kind of along the way. And then, yeah, I'm sure there's moments, I mean, I'm trying to think specifically. I mean, the thing is, I guess, like doing a vacation or a holiday, you cram so much into so little time. So it kind of becomes this, by the end of it, it becomes this just this blur of what it was that you experienced. And so in a way, that was the I might not have experienced these things at the same time together, but the overall experience for me was this huge, diverse experience of culture and of tradition and of language and of people and of expression and things like this at such a young age. So and maybe the young age part of it helped to create that blur. Maybe it was less clear then. But yeah, I've certainly had experiences where things have been so unified that it's so clear that there is a link or multiple links on multiple different levels between these cultures of sound and things like that.
Gotcha. All right. So, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, from your perspective and kind of delve into a little bit too, is just like speaking about synergy and rhythm, in different or disparate cultural groups and rhythm. Coming from the background that you come from, obviously, you spoke about obviously being in malleted, percussion ensembles. And so these are very specific cultural spaces, right? Even if you deal with Western music as opposed to some of the music that comes from some of these environments that you're acculturating into the record sound. Can you speak about some of, what you've learned or what you've heard that the correlatives that exist between those different cultures of music, things that people wouldn't really realize are connected that are? Can you speak to some of those things for our audience?
I think a lot of the functions of particular, obviously different cultures of music have their own, the music plays maybe a different function within their society or the different practices around the music have total different meanings or functions. But I think a lot of the core musical functions, or maybe more specifically like rhythmic functions, the way some rhythms, or the way there might be a call or a setup rhythm, the way the interaction and the improvisation is sort of built through whether it's an ensemble or a soloist. I think a lot of that is in a way comes from a similar a similar ideology, or a similar sort of, there's definitely very close similarities between the role that the rhythm can play within a society, if that makes sense. That's, I think, something that I mean, in Western society, or at least in more of a commercial music world, we consume music for a lot of the time for entertainment, whether it's just pure listening or whether it's in TV advertisement or in a movie or in whatever. A lot of that is simply for entertainment purposes. But historically, and I think traditionally, not only was music, or not only is music still a form of entertainment, it's much deeper. It goes much deeper and much covers much more ground within a society. The functions that it plays around religion and spirituality and dance, and even like doing tasks, getting things done, and using rhythm as a way of connecting
Like Casa Soro and Casa Laban, right? These are, you know,
Absolutely.
for gathering rice, right? So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, for
yeah.
doing, farming and things like that, and then communication on the other end of that, and using that as a literal as well as a musical form of communication. All these things, like there's a sort of endless use for music within a lot of cultures of music, whereas in a more commercial, on the more commercial side of it, it's very almost one. There's one function to that, one main function to that anyway, which is quite a contrast. But yeah, that's sort of. What about you? I want to hear your question.
I think the way that you put it is actually perfect, you know, because that's really more of what I think about more often than not. It's just the distance between how we consume music and its practical uses, you know. Like for me, when I'm a little boy, you know, before going, you know, to Malaysia or any of these things, but just as a small child, you know, in my community, you learn the rhythms that were played when there was the rebellion happened in New Orleans where they burned the city to the ground, right? So they have different uses depending on where they are. But you know, I'll never forget, you know, being like a 6-7-year-old child and learning the rhythms that correlated on the Western Rim to like war and like what those energies actually do to you. What, you know, I'm getting goosebumps thinking of the feeling now, right? And so then you hear, you know, some of the folklore stories, you know, the narratives around what happened, you know. So you're a little boy and you're hearing about, you know, hundreds of Senegambian Africans, some of them on horseback and fully regimented, playing this rhythm and walking. So like, just as an example, like a space like Congo Square, which now most people kind of look at as kind of like rhythmically ground zero for American music. This is a space where African descent people in New Orleans were essentially playing rhythms more than anywhere else in the city. But what most people don't know is the reason that they were confined to playing in Congo Square was because they had essentially warred with the municipality with drums. So they were no longer allowed to play the drums in other parts of the city, right? So it's like, so from a rhythm like Casa Soro or Casa Laban, like we talked about, which is like kind of rooted in, you know, gathering rice and dealing with the cultivation of rice, to a rhythm that deals with war, all the way to the distance of, you know, like the new Beyonce record being like re-released for consumption. You know, those have really large distances from each other. So, you know, it's always been interesting to me to try and create things that can exist in a space for commercial consumption, but that are also still tethered to and rooted in the original energies of those rhythms as well, right? So what type of experience does someone have if you're intentional about building sound that comes from a rhythm that we know is rooted in one of those energies, as opposed to just something that's built around beating your feet, right? So you know, I spend most days kind of weighing that, but I think the way that you framed it is actually perfect for, you know, a lot of listeners, because it's the one thing that we don't really talk about the most. Like obviously you and I could sit there talking about the synergy of a flam being played on a snare drum and what it sounds like on a djembe, but that wasn't really what I was interested in. Like your was really perfect, you know. I also wanted you to speak a little bit to some of the younger and developing people that are out there, you know, artists that are kind of trying to figure out their way in this music, about like what your experience in your first few months in the larger music industry and with stretch music and Ropeadope and what that's like. And you can say anything you want to say. You know, I know you're talking to us. Anything. You have to be able to speak. No, but anything you want to say, I want them to know what that experience is like from a perspective like yours. Because like for me, that experience is almost 24 years ago. So, you know, so, and it's a different era. Like what was requisite when I was coming up and playing is so different now, you know?
For me,
anything.
I studied.
You're like, Christian, mate, I had to cut my hand open and become blood brothers to be a stretch music artist. Don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly been a learning journey. I'll say that. So I studied jazz performance, right? Whatever that is.
Right.
I studied jazz drums in a performance degree for 3 years full time. So that was that was my education. I didn't learn how to build a record or how to do anything to do with a record design and any of that stuff, let alone marketing and all that stuff. So for me, coming out of uni and then, or college, for my coming out of university.
Come on, let's get
it. Coming out of that space and then kind of jumping in, and again, the album was a gradual. I didn't just book a studio for a weekend and get the whole thing done. It was like it was built over this, the time frame of 2.5 years.
Right.
So over that time, I was of course learning, but I still didn't have any education I still didn't have any experience first and any education with working with the label, with doing anything outside of my city of Adelaide, which is a small city, or compared to Melbourne and Sydney, a small city in Australia. My experience and my comfort zone was still this city, right? So as soon as I went over to America, and as soon as I met up with you and a whole bunch of other cats, chatting with them, that was already outside of that comfort zone, right? That was already outside of this little bubble. So putting myself, as soon as I stepped out of that, it was like I was back in college. I was learning again. I was listening and I was learning. I was taking notes. I was, playing with thought and things like this. So then moving forward with the record and moving forward with you and with Lewis and Ropeadope, you guys have done this before. You guys know what you're doing. I mean, I've put out one album with a different band before this record, and that was totally independent, totally had no idea what we were doing. Was great nonetheless, but didn't gain the experience that I've gained through this process. So I think my butt was kicked hard. My butt was kicked. I had to ask a lot of questions, but that's important. And it's important to understand what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it, and what it is that other people are doing and why they're doing it, and how you can work together to make things better, to build it to a point where it's better than it would be from one or the other, right? You're both working. So in this case, there's a wonderful, wonderful team at Ropeadope and Stretch Music. And so that's been something that's, like I say, kicked my butt, but I'm so happy. I feel like I've just finished like a master's of I don't know.
Well, because there's so much stuff, industry, right? Well, because it's, what I really enjoyed about the experience over the last few months too is just the conversations that we have where, you and I get on the phone, we're like a few hour powwow where we're talking about this and, thinking about that and, the questions that come up. And, I think that's part of what you're intimating right now is very important for the folks at home that are listening, specifically the younger generation and people that are trying to figure out how to do this. One of the things that you intimated about, coming out of uni or college and coming, immediately into the fray, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times we don't talk about that, at least I can't speak to your nation, but in my country, the overwhelming majority of people that actually go to university to learn music or to deal with music on any level, once they graduate, there isn't really a template for them to fall into. They all have to kind of go all of their individual ways to try and figure out which way is up. And so, and for me as a person that went to Berkeley, right, and was in a university that had 4,000 music students there that most of them were gonna graduate, and walk into a space where they realized that the things that they were learning, the overwhelming majority of that stuff is great in a university setting, but in the real world is that it's very difficult to get anything done just having that particular approach. So it was also important for us to also try to start to build a bedrock so that we can build a sustainable floor, build an environment that's also tethered to equity for younger artists in the beginning of their careers as well, right? And so, like for me, I think a huge part of that, if I'm being completely honest too, is also tethered to what I've been able to learn from Lewis, right? And the template that he has. I had like an hour-long conversation with my mother the other day, just talking about how amazing the template and what it is that he's actually created in that space, because it's actually designed around making sure that the artist can actually have a life. Like, let's just start there, right? And so for us, it's also really, really important as an extension of what it is that he's building, what he's doing in this moment to make sure that we're also building things that we know are appropriate to continue to move that piece forward, right? This is very important because most people, when they come into the music industry, they walk into a space where they're dealing with an executive level person that more often than not is actually trying to guile them into, out of their resources. So, obviously that situation is different for you. Obviously that situation is different for a lot of stretch music and Ropeadope artists because they're walking into environments where people are actually really intentional about making sure that they hold on to certain aspects of those assets, right? And so for me as a person that when I got out of college, I immediately signed a record deal with Concord Records and, was distributed through Universal Music. And that was a very specific environment versus what it's like to be in a space where you can actually speak to the label owner and that person gives a shit, really gives a shit, right? And is willing to actually have conversations with you about, in terms of you speak about your learning. Obviously, I've had a myriad of experiences doing this as a professional for 24 years, but also having the ability to call Lewis up and have conversations about things that maybe I'm not so knowledgeable, and the approach in which he's actually disseminating that information also being about making sure that I can do the things that I want to do in my future, right? So, that experience I think is a far cry from what those experiences used to be like. Now, those things still exist. The traditional label structure where they basically, you become the label's best customer, right? Those things, no, that still exists for a lot of people. And there are a lot of folks that are watching this now that more often than not, when they're being given information about how to move forward in the music industry, are essentially being funneled into that system. So you speaking about your experience, and I think that's really important for people that are developing at this moment because more often than not, we don't know what all our options are. And so,
Totally.
when I think about moments for me, just in terms of you and I have had conversations about marketing and branding and how to disseminate images and what sounds and all of these things. And now that is such a different experience from when I started playing music, right? For me, I'm born in '83, so I'm getting up there. I got a couple little gold whiskers. This is my gray whiskers. This is my first beard, by the way. But for
stop.
Thank you. But for me, it's my generation is kind of like the bridge from the analog thing to the digital environment. Right? So it's I didn't get my first cell phone until I was a grown man, right? So when I'm coming up playing music, it wasn't, you had to bring it every night and you had to be the real McCoy because no one was going to post anything or walk out spreading that information if it wasn't the real thing. And the only way to build that name like that was really for someone to be in the room actually hearing you deal with the thing, right? Now it's an environment where you can take a cell phone and make a 15-second clip of yourself sounding good and disseminate that all over the world. And people, will automatically assume that thing is what it is. So there are different sort of litmus tests that exist between generations. So, when we have our conversations, we speak about that because for most people at home, they don't have the ability to see in this moment that you have the real McCoy thing, but also understand the new template, right? They have only seen you in the one environment, but don't know, obviously, from you sitting in with us and us, developing this over years, the level of player you actually are. So all of those things I think are really important in terms of what people have to frame and what they have to wrap their heads around in terms of trying to find a way in an environment that is the macrocosmic environment is so exploited. So I think it's important. And even, we talk about this all the time, but even you making dedicated posts and kind of talking about your experience like that, those things are deeply, arming for people because, when you speak about going from university to essentially jumping into the business, most people have no frame of reference for something like that. So your experience is also, that information is really important for your generation of musicians because there aren't really the same types of opportunities that existed when I was a kid. right? When I was younger, like when I was growing up, you went to play at a club like the Blue Note and all of the A&R directors were there. You had A&R directors from Impulse, Blue Note, all this stuff. We could go into a space where we're playing a 4,500 seat theater and you wouldn't see any A&R, right? So it's really different. You know, I wonder if like Lewis or Fabian have any questions or things that they wanted to kind of jump into. I know I kind of been grilling you, Alex.
No, I'd love it.
I'll pass it over to Fabian first, and then I have some comments about Alex and some of the things that you've said. But Fabian, as a musician and the resident expert at Ropeadope, I know you've got a lot of questions.
I just gotta say
pick
first,
a couple.
Just a couple. Just one. Just one or two. First, Christian and Alex, just listening to you guys just have a conversation and being a fly on the wall, absolutely amazing. I mean, Alex, I'm not sure how old you are, but just to hear the maturity of your approach on just listening and learning and creating music it's really inspiring to me. I guess my one question for you, dude, is what's next, right? You know, we are now in an environment, we are now in a world where we are limited with our ability to be creative among our peers, right? And that could be, people can take that one or two ways, right? People can get really frustrated and have this anxiety, or people can really just break through and create some just amazing music. So just for me, for the audience, what's next?
I jumped straight out of, finishing up my record, I jumped straight back into another record with another band of mine, A Razor Description. The album is out in 2 weeks. So I literally back-to-back albums, which has been a challenge, but it's what I wanted to do, and it's kicking my butt again. So that's what I'm doing right now. But what's next? I came off of about a year overseas last year, and then into this year back home in Australia, in Adelaide. But the plan wasn't necessarily to stay here long term, because the opportunities here versus the things that I want to be doing and the music that I want to be creating, that's not necessarily something that's not an Adelaide thing. That's not a home thing. So now not being able to go other places makes, puts me in a really, puts everyone, but puts me in a really tough position where the things that I want to be doing aren't necessarily all achievable here, but for now I'm kind of stuck here. So making the most of my time here by basically going back into the studio and just building more stuff, more tracks, more ideas, not necessarily, I'm just learning. I'm still learning. I'm practicing and I'm developing and I'm shaping sound and I'm practicing my mixing chops every day and things like this. So kind of back to school for me. In that way, I've got more time now to dedicate towards working on the sound and working on the ideas for a future project. But for now it's hard to say. I'm in Adelaide. I'm doing some life has somewhat returned to some faraway level of normality. Like I've done a couple gigs in the past few weeks, which has been crazy.
Ask on gig.
I put on a suit for the first time in 6 months to do a little corporate thing the other day. So that was super weird feeling. But it's back to the building stage, back to the creating, which is, that's what I love to do anyway. So
phenomenal. And I have to ask one question for Christian before I give the microphone back to Lewis. Christian, you're known around the world for your amazing, your performance abilities, your compositions, for your writing, for who you are as a person and what you're fighting for and what you're fighting against. And you're coming into your own as, someone who is Stretch Music, someone who is putting their mark on the world with curating other musicians and curating other artists. What's next for you and what's next for Stretch Music?
Oh man, there's so much coming up. I'm so excited about the next couple of years. We just put a pre-order up today for a brand new live record that we recorded at the Blue Note. We just squeezed one out because, the world, everything shut down. Like the last day that we were in the Blue Note, I think literally like maybe a day or two later, and everything was shut down in New York. So we did the last week at the Blue Note. And so we put this brand new live record up. It's called Axiom, and it is a burner. I can't wait for people to hear it because it's, this is my third live record. We did live at Newport to commemorate Miles Davis's 50th anniversary of his live record. We did one. I did one with the guys from 90 Miles, a co-led group I had with Stephon Harris and David Sanchez many years ago. And we were due. I don't like. I have these moments where we make all of these studio records because I'm always in here beating on pots and pans. I can't help myself. But it was really, really great. To also have a moment to really dig in and for the band to just take it to each other every night, And so, I think with releasing so many studio albums in a row, this has really been fun to drop something that's actually going to break that energy up. Because, with the last 3 or 4 records, most of that stuff is really kind of built in the box, right? So the sound of those records is sort of more akin to how I actually hear music. Whereas live records is really more everyone's perspective has equal standing, right? You listen to this record and there may be only 20 minutes of actual trumpet playing, right? But the document is over an hour long. So you get to hear other cats stretch out and what they, where they're coming from. And, I'm a person that really, really loves mistakes on records, and a lot of times, when you play live, I'm into it cracking up and you trying to find out what you really mean and where you're really trying to go. So that sort of bulliness in it, I'm excited about that, with the new Axiom release. For my band specifically, next year, we also have, we have one double record coming up that's going to be called Bark Out Thunder, Roar Out Lightning. And that's really more tethered to, sort of commemorating me becoming chief, of my clan in New Orleans. And so the sound is really more rooted in that stuff. And then there's 2 more records following that. I know I'm probably wearing Lewis out right now, but so we're looking at, in an 18-month period, maybe 5 releases. So from my side, but in addition to that, we got a brand new record from Weedy Brahma that he's making that is just called a djembe album. But all of the different cultures of music and the things that he's bringing into it show the universality of the instrument and how we can actually coexist in all of these spaces. We got new music from Sarah Elizabeth Charles that's coming. She's about to jump in the studio and knock that out. Alex Hahn is coming with something crazy, and also he's on that live record, Axiom, and he played a solo that literally made me almost jump out of my body. So I really can't wait for people to hear these records. So he's got a record coming up. We've been rapping with Chris Turner. He's going by Fur now, so he's hunting down some new music and got a record that's basically kind of already in a bow for us. Edward Jackson in New Orleans, we all call him Juicy. He's kind of like the mayor of New Orleans. He runs the TBC brass band, to be continued. It's a strong culture bearer in New Orleans. And obviously folks like David Sanchez and, working with people like Eddie Palmieri and dealing with the apps and all these things. So, the records are coming, records. We're working on building some filmic works in the next year. And then hopefully, depending on what some of these grants are looking like, we're trying to build the resources to build a huge space in New Orleans that's going to house all of these sort of the rooted cultural things from the Black Indian culture. So basically like a Black Indian ground zero in New Orleans that tentatively is being referred to as the Shotokan Temple. Shotokan is my family banner. Is my banner, so we're gonna name it after that. But there's gonna be a space for drum circles, recording, performance space, So we're working it out. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So hopefully by 2022 you'll see all of those things are done.
I just want to jump in and point out for folks who are listening that are in the media, you can reach Fabian Brown at publicity@ropeadope.com to ask about any of those records that Christian just mentioned. He'll be happy to receive your email and will respond promptly. I just following up on that, the comment about the space in New Orleans, yeah. Christian, for folks who might be hearing about this, who would they contact if they want to
just us
be
at
involved in
Music.
such an impressive project?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, just us at Stretch Music, the main spaces you can either to directly contact Kara at stretchmusicofficial.com, right? Because
Perfect.
she's helping me manage that. Obviously, we're all year round, we're writing grants for different things. Obviously, we have the Stretch Music Festivals; those were subsidized by the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation. So, we have a lot of those relationships, and we're really trying to build something for this community that's not just tethered to the things that we do musically, but also the core cultural space from the community. So in the short term, Kara is probably the best person to go to. But for most people that know me, anybody that ever reaches out to Vincent for anything knows that he has all that information too. So you can also reach out to Vincent at secondsonproductions.com, who is my manager as well.
I'm just putting the intention out there. You don't know how these things come, and
no,
and
absolutely.
somebody's listening, and someone, and that's a beautiful.
No, I'm grateful
thing.
for it.
Preserving heritage and moving it forward is extremely important. I think we all are at a time when we're evaluating what's important in our world as we watch our world at least threaten to fall apart. So you use the term nutritional value. Everything that Christian is involved with has incredible nutritional value, and it's important to support. And
it's gonna look cool, man. You already know. I'm just so excited about it. Well, because I have some friends that are some really great architects that have sent us some sketches of sort of what it could potentially look like. And the thing is, once you see something, the vision starts to sort of tighten. And just to be completely honest with you, also to try and build a space in the neighborhood in New Orleans that also is a space where where people can be safe when they're learning these things and where they're participating in these cultural exhibitions is beyond important, based in what the New Orleanian experience can be like. And so a big part of being chief in my culture is also about what you actually are doing for the city and the people. And so we want to create an environment that is built with a ton of love, but that also has is a safe space for people to learn these things. And just to be clear, this is not just an environment that's being built for people that come from that singular culture space. This is an environment that's being built from a group of people that have a humanist perspective and that are being intentional about trying to figure out how to move forward hand in hand. So we're looking forward to it.
It's inclusive. Yeah. So I want to thank you both for being here and sharing. This is absolutely incredible. We're learning as we go, and I want to thank you for your kind comments about the experience at Ropeadope. And I just wanted to reflect on that. I appreciate the words and the intent and the love that's behind it, but I want people who are listening to understand that we're growing things here. We're gardeners, and maybe the soil isn't as fertile as it once was, and maybe it won't be fertile in the future, but we're still trying to grow things. What you're seeing here are two people that are very actively involved in that same process in growing, and you're seeing one who has had some good time and good energy and good love and puts that out and has grown, and another who is on the same path, and we don't really know what the answers are. I appreciate the kind words, but we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the future of quality music is, and that makes our situation more tenuous, more difficult. But we're committed to it. I don't have answers. I just have intention to grow that, and I want to encourage the audience to understand how risky it is and how difficult it is for people like Christian and Alex to go out and do what they do. And I want to emphasize again that this is not just about music. This is about growing collaborative community and a method and a way for people to work together towards a greater and a better future. And, just much respect to both of you. But I want to stop for the station break for a moment and say, we're on Bandcamp Friday. We've got about 6 or 7 hours left to go. People can support both of these artists and many more at downloads.ropeadope.com and click on the top banner, the Stretch Music listing for Alexander Flood's album Heartbeat, and also search there for Christian Scott. We've just announced the live performances he mentioned, so I'd suggest you jump on that. I suggest you grab both, and we'll watch and see who does. We'll throw something special in there. As an illustration of both Christian's keen awareness of, I don't know if I want to call it intelligence. I want to call it wisdom, keen awareness of wisdom, whether it's in someone young or someone older, and a keen awareness of and an understanding of both where we've come from and the importance of cultural identity, and where we may or may not be heading, like building our future. Christian has brought Alexander Flood to the Stretch Music label, and good things take time to unfold. And we recently did a project, and this kind of came in right after lockdown. So as Christian was finishing up at the Blue Note in New York City, a gentleman by the name of Russell Kaplan, who is also very, I don't want to say overly creative, but exceedingly creative individual. His first record came to us was called the Ulysses Project, which was a musical interpretation of Ulysses, right? And of course, when I heard that, I was like, I'm in, let's go, right? Why not? But Russ contacted us and said, contacted me by email and said, do you know anybody on different continents? I want to put together a project where we have a composer from each continent create a piece of music, and then share it with other composers, and then we're all gonna do an entire performance of the thing. So breaking it down really clearly, and it's called the 9 Takes Global Composer Project. It actually came to fruition. So Alexander Flood represented Australia and was part of this project.
Burned it down.
We had people from, we had a gentleman from Switzerland who was originally from Malawi. We had Eric Deutsch in Mexico City. Russ Kaplan is the originator of the project in New York City. Lisa Marie Simmons in Northern Italy. Andrea Molinari in Southern Italy. Aidan Thorne in Wales. Padre Grin in Dublin, Ireland. And Yasushi Karasawa in Tokyo. And they each wrote a song and then shared only the sheet music with the other composers. No cues, no demos, no this is what this is supposed to sound like. And then each boldly interpreted the song in video and audio, and then presented that in the 9 Takes project. But the interesting part, and no one watched the videos until they were ready to air, which was fascinating to experience, where people are hearing their composition back to them from someone else. I still can't comprehend the human trust and benefit that comes from doing that. Here's my baby, I'm gonna give it up, but I'm only gonna give you this much information. So let's see what you come back with. Everyone loved it, but Alex was in a really interesting position as a drummer. And that did not occur to me till the day that we queued up the performance. Even the bass player was able to do, Aidan Thorne, and it was fantastic because he's a very expressive bassist. He was able to do a solo bass project, interpret the songs. But Alex had to put everything together because, no disrespect, watching 30 minutes of drum solo is a little bit challenging.
I was given Russ early on. I was talking with Russ, and he was saying like, "Yeah, you could do it with drums, or you could maybe get get a band in, or I was like, yeah, I could do it with drums, but no one's going to want to watch that. So let's not do that.
There you go. So thank you for chiming in. So tell us a little bit about the process, and then we're going to go out with this video because it stunned everyone. Tell me, I mean, you first of all, how much courage did you have to summon?
There was a lot of, look, I'll be honest, it was very daunting. I don't play any other instruments except for drums and percussion. I have very limited keyboard abilities. So for me, being handed 9 or 8 plus my own PDF documents of music, notes on a page, and yes, I can read notes, I can read rhythms, but I can't play them. So to kind of translate that to a performance made me realize, okay, I'm going to have to build arrangements within my computer. Or, I mean, yes, I could have gotten a band, but the way I wanted to do it, I wanted to employ a similar process that I used for my album, which was starting with a fundamental idea and then building things around that and layering parts around that, and doing it as organically in the moment as I can. So what I did was I actually punched in just the fundamental, like the melody and the harmony, just on a piano software instrument. Listened back to that, bent the rhythms around a bit to try and create some theme or some level of sort of shifting it around different styles and things like that. Settling on an idea and then just going ham with adding bass sounds, synths, lots of effects, and then the fun part for me was adding the percussion and stuff and then playing it. So it was almost like building a studio album. It was almost like building a second album right after the first one, but having a much shorter deadline and not being able to rely on other people's harmonic and melodic expertise. So for example, there's no solos apart from some little short drum parts here and there. It's all just like arrangements of form and style and rhythm and sound. I really wanted to make it a feature of sound more than anything. I think I tried to take the compositions as far away from maybe how they were intended or what I would expect to hear from the composition. I wanted to take that idea and push it as far as I possibly could into another sound and another sort of space. So it was actually a really, really fun project, but really challenging for me. And a lot of it was, spontaneous and tried to be as organic as I could. So, and then it came to recording it. So I recorded the drums live, just like all 9 compositions back to back, because the rest of the tracks or the backing tracks were not live, right? So I wanted to create some sort of live element, and the best way to do that was to literally do it as a live set, like a performance. So did my best with that.
One take.
One take.
Right.
Yeah.
Takes one take.
Yeah.
One take. Well, we're gonna close out and let people watch that video. And I just want to stop for a moment and say thank you to Alexander Flood for sharing your creativity and your energy with us. I think we're all gonna, I look forward to hearing more and more of what you do. And
Future's bright.
What's that?
Future is bright.
The future is bright. It feels that way, and I feel like it feels extra special to be connecting across these distances, from future to winter, all of these things. So
it's clearly winter here.
yeah. And to Christian Scott, Tunde Ajwa, enough. I can't say enough.
It's mutual. Thank
you.
Of course.
Let's all visit Bandcamp, support them. They've been amazing. Someday Christian will look back and let everybody know how essential Bandcamp has been in his movement from part of a system to fully self-empowered owner of his own business, so to speak. You feel that?
Yeah,
Christian,
you know, yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that I talk about all the time, you know, when I'm engaging with younger people, you know, the last couple of years is kind of directly related to that, but specifically in this time period after, you know, the spread of COVID, for there to be an institution that is also, just like you spoke about, being intentional. You know, not everyone knows the right answers in all of the moments, but for there to be a space that is creating an area where artists can essentially take the brunt of their, you know, what they've contributed. There's nothing really like that. And so to me, I think finding spaces like that and supporting them because they're willing to broker and create equity for the people that build the institution, essentially. There's really nothing like that, you know? And so as a person that's walking into this the last 4 or 5 years, you know, running up, you know, starting the label and then the app company and all of this stuff, you know, obviously I'm still learning a lot. But I look forward to continuing to do music with people that realize that on the other side of the brokerage and the exchange is a human being. And so I think, you know, for that reason, what it is that you've been able to build and also what it is that they're building over there, these are two pillars that from a perspective like mine are paramountly important in moving forward for the music industry.
Beautiful. Well, let's thank you both. And thank
Thank
you,
you so
Mr.
much,
Brown.
Lewis. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Fabian.
Thank you, guys. I'll see y'all later.
All right, we're gonna queue up 9 takes from Alexander Flood.